Good evening, Dungeon Masters. I'm Baron Derop. Halloween is just around the corner, and your friends are probably too old for trick-or-treating. So you've decided to run a horror one-shot adventure instead. Of course, 5th edition D&D really isn't that great at facilitating the same sense of dread that we experience when watching films like Rosemary's Baby, The Thing, or Alien. Fortunately, with just a few tweaks to the rule set and a few considerations for encounter design, this problem can be quickly remediated. The biggest contributor to an adventure's lack of horror is player character durability, yet modifying that durability comes with its own problems. One of the major roadblocks to altering the mechanics of 5th edition is how tightly wound the entire system is onto itself. Removing one mechanic almost always has negative cascading ramifications on subclass abilities, spell definitions, or combat actions, and there's no mechanic that's more exemplary of this phenomenon than death saves. From healing spells, cantrips, resting, and even racial abilities, death saves are so interwoven into the game's rules that we can't just reasonably get rid of them. However, if we are going to threaten characters with a real possibility of a grim demise, these death saves have to be dealt with somehow. So, what do? Easy. Get rid of all passing death saves, as well as all but one failing death save. This change maintains the way other abilities interact with these death save mechanics, but strips away the bulk of character durability. What's great about this change is that we can come up with narrative excuses for these mechanical alterations in fiction as well. When players start looking for a dungeon in a haunted wood, shrouded in a terrible fog, characters may lose all their passing death saves thanks to this fog, and further lose more and more failing death saves as they delve deeper and deeper into the dungeon. If you're needing some guidance on what kind of horrible monsters to use, or even ideas for a whole horror adventure, check out this video's sponsor, Describe. Describe is a database filled with tons of inspirational descriptions of monsters, magic items, encounters, and more. I love this particular entry about an illithid skulking around in a thieves' den. Great ideas like this are enough to inspire a whole adventure. What might start as a simple raid on a band of rogues deep in the city's ratways turns into a terrifying game of cat and mouse with a mind flayer. While investigating a few kidnappings from up on the surface, it slowly becomes evident, while down in the sewers, that the Thieves Guild isn't at fault at all. If you'd like to get more inspirational prompts like this for your adventure writing, check out the link in the description below and use the coupon code BARON when you sign up to get 10% off. Thanks to Scribe for sponsoring this video. While there is a madness table in the Dungeon Master's Guide, there's hardly any references to that table from elsewhere in the game. As a result, we as Dungeon Masters don't have good indicators of how to use this table in the first place. However, we can take lead from the panic system found in the sci-fi horror RPG Mothership. As a rule of thumb, ask your players to make a wisdom or maybe a charisma save every time your players encounter an aberration or monstrosity, lose more than half their hit points from a single attack, watch another character die, whenever their torches go out inside a dungeon, or whenever the players are enduring some other kind of acute stress. If you hammer your players with these madness saves frequently over the course of an adventure, aim for a DC value that will give the players roughly a 20 to 30% chance of failure, or 6 plus half the PC's level. For more interest, you can tell players that they can resist the effects of madness by forfeiting inspiration or perhaps even the hit dice they'd use on a short rest. Also, be sure to treat madness similar to exhaustion, so that the madness onset happens in stages. Characters already experiencing a minor madness trait should therefore take on a medium one if they fail an additional save. When your players burn through inspiration, or perhaps even those hit dice, turn those burned resources into enemy inspiration or bonuses for some nasty monster lurking in the background. Make obvious that you're hoarding these tokens for that purpose as well. Clearly telegraph what you are doing. This will push players to weigh the pros and cons of hand-waving away those failed madness saves. Do they take a madness effect now and hold on to their hit dice or inspiration, or do they spend it now and knowingly give their final enemy more ammunition to beat them with later? The monster encounters in your horror adventure should be way more deadly than a typical boss fight. The monsters should be powerful enough to dispatch a character in no more than 2 rounds of combat. Of course, it's terribly unfair to throw monsters that strong at the party with no clear warning of the danger. Be sure to telegraph the monster's power to the players early and often, much the same way the Alien movie shows the xenomorph's acid eating through the floor decking and creepy shadows shifting in the hallway. Make it abundantly clear that the monster your players are facing is extremely dangerous. Describing eviscerated corpses and fleshy pulp smeared against the wall is great for telegraphing a grindhouse style of danger, while for a psychological horror tone, the players might need to loop back to this same room some 20 minutes later, only to find out it is now in a pristinely clean state. However you telegraph the danger, be sure to also indicate what tools and information the players need to defeat the monster as well. Of course, these tools will only help the players overcome the monster's threat, but not necessarily the environment they fight it in. In the final showdown with this terrible monster, once the players have leveled the playing field by gathering the right tools and know-how, alter the environment so that the environment itself proves to be the most dangerous aspect of the encounter. A collapsing mineshaft, a sinking sailing ship, or a flooding dungeon are all good examples of environments which must be dealt with while fighting off a terrible monster. Alternatively, you might just want to play a Diablo-style game where you hack and slash your way through tons of demons while collecting lots of cool treasure. If so, check out my adventure design and treasure generation supplement, Hordes of Darkness on DriveThruRPG, at the link in the description. If you'd like to help me make more content like this in the future, please consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching, Dungeon Masters, and until next time, good night.